Hi, it's Aunt Fanny. We're going to make some deviled eggs today. So let's make some.
So today we're going to make deviled eggs for Thanksgiving. And so we're going to start with making hard-boiled eggs. And normally I do like put them into cold water, bring them up to a boil, turn the oven off, put the lid on, and wait for 15 minutes or whatever, and then put them into cold water and then start peeling them. But today I'm going to do a different method where I'm going to, which I probably shouldn't be trying new things on Thanksgiving, but anyway, we're gonna do rolling boil, then we're gonna add the eggs, we're gonna cook them for 6 minutes, then we're gonna turn the burner off, put the lid on, go another 6 minutes, and then we're gonna go and put them into ice for a couple minutes, let them get cooled off, and then we're gonna peel them under lukewarm water. And we're gonna see how that goes. And then we'll start the deviled eggs process, or angel eggs, or mustard eggs, or whatever it is that you happen to call them. They're a very simple recipe. There's lots of variations out there. I like mine to be more on the savory, where I use vinegar and mustard and mayonnaise, and actually vinegar is actual pickle juice from a jar, and then paprika on top, and some salt and pepper. Yeah, but there's lots of ways you can make these to fit exactly what you're looking for. And there's a ton of different ways to do it out there on the internet. But this is how I'm going to do it. So it looks like I got a total mess over here, which I do. I like to stage my food as I'm cooking. I don't know if anybody else does that. I also do that with my makeup. When I'm doing my makeup, if I ever do my makeup, I pull everything out, put it on the counter, and as I apply one thing, I put it back into its home. And I do the same thing with food. So over here I have preps for, I'm going to make some stuffing or dressing later. I'm going to make we call them chili peppers because my name is Jill, and it's something that I just kind of made one night when we were craving jalapeno poppers and we didn't have the stuff, so we just came up with something else. So I have all that kind of stuff staged over there, plus just some other stuff. So, all right, so we're going to start with getting some water in our pot. We're going to fill it up. I'm going to make probably about 10 eggs. That'll make 20 deviled eggs. I'm going to get this water to a rolling boil, and I'll show you what that is. So we've got a big pot here. Inside the water that I put on the stove, about a teaspoon of baking soda in there, and supposedly that helps them peel later. I don't know if it's actually true or not, or if it's just myth and I believe it, so it's true. I don't know. Okay, so here we are. That is a rolling boil. See how the bubbles come? I'm trying to blow this steam away. See how the bubbles come all the way up to the top of the surface? That's what you want. There's a couple different ways to think about eggs that you're using to hard boil. Some people say the older they are, the better, as long as they're still good. And you can test to see if the eggs are still good by putting them in a bowl of water. And the ones that float are not fresh. The ones that sink are still fresh. But people would say older eggs, give them a week or two old, are gonna peel better. Brown eggs don't peel as good as what some people say. But basically, I don't know if any of those are true. Try it and find out. Let me know what you think is true. Do you think older eggs peel better? Do you think brown eggs don't peel as well? What do you think? And then here's something else that I do. I just have these little quirky little things about me. Empty out a thing of eggs, right? And then we end up with 2 eggs at the end. And then we go to stick it in the fridge. And then whenever we pick it up, it's always, oh, it's really light on one end and heavy on the other, and it's kind of floppy. So I always move, if I have a half carton or a partial carton, I always move my eggs to the center and kind of balance them. So when I grab it out, it's just even, Steven. It's not floppy. It's not heavy on one end and light on the other. You know, I don't know, they're eggs, they're delicate, so I like to just have more of a steady hand. One other thing to add is that it's probably not a bad idea to throw in a couple extra eggs just in case. Already I noticed in mine that one of my eggs has cracked. So now I'm down to 9 eggs, and I should have just put that whole 12 in there. And if I didn't want to prepare them as deviled eggs, I could have eaten them as hard-boiled eggs or prepared them in something else. So might have been a good idea to add just a couple extra eggs when you're cooking them, just for those little fallouts. So anyway, here's a couple of different things that can be done when you get your deviled egg mix ready to put inside the eggs, the egg whites. you can either take a spoon, scoop it, spread it off, take 2 spoons, scoop it, and then scrape it with the backside of the second spoon. Or you can do things like putting it in a Ziploc bag and get it all mushed down to one corner and then just cut the little tip and then just pipe it like you'd be frosting a cake or whatever, and you just kind of squirt it around in there. That is my go-to. Now there's other things, like I just happen to have this that I think I probably got on clearance somewhere, and it's a cupcake decorating kit. More than likely, I'll probably just stick with my Ziploc bag because I know that it works. And another hot tip for you is if you are taking deviled eggs to a friend's house or a family member's house for an event or for potluck or whatever, I have one of those dollar store deviled egg trays, you know, it has little cutouts or whatever, the little divots. And so then I put all the eggs in there and I cover it with foil so they don't move, but I don't top them. I put all of my mixture in this bag and then I lay that on top and flatten it out. And I take the two together. So I take my tray of whites and I take my bag of yellow deviled egg mix and a pair of scissors. And then when I get wherever I'm going, I cut the corner and I quickly, and then I don't have to worry about on the way to and from having that mixture get pulled off the top of the egg or smear or run or whatever, because it's being transported like this and then made pretty at the site. So does that make sense? That's a little something that I like to do. Anyway, right now I have the eggs with the lid on and the burner is off. And I'm going to do that for 6 minutes. And we're going to see how these eggs turn out. More eggs. Like I said, I did lose one egg that cracked in the water. So maybe it might still be salvageable for a presentation. But usually when they crack, they try to squish out of the shell and then they just kind of get weird shaped. So the eggs have now boiled for 6 minutes. And then I turn the burner off and let them sit in that hot water for 6 minutes with the lid on. Now I have some ice in a dish. Put a little water in here to go with it. So here they are. There's all my eggs. So I'm going to scoop them out one by one. And they say, another one of those things, is they say that is one of the keys to being able to peel easily, is to that immediate immersion into an ice bath so that the eggs stop cooking, and I don't know what it does. It scares the shells right off of them. I don't know. Anyway, we'll see how it goes. So, okay, now here's my 10th egg, and this little fella broke in the water. See, he's kind of wonky. We're going to see what he does, though. He might be cute enough for the dish. My family's not that particular. Okay, so I'm going to let them sit in there for about 2 to 4 minutes, get them cooled off, and then I'm going to peel them under lukewarm water. It's been about 4 minutes, and almost all that ice is gone. Okay, so the trick is, usually you want to like kind of really lightly crack just the outside and then roll it and get some breaking going on. And if you can get underneath that membrane, you're doing great. It's gonna be a lot easier to peel. So these are peeling. This particular egg is peeling very nice. So here we go. There it is, one egg, done. Okay, so this is that egg that cracked in the water. I can't seem to get it very good on the camera. Did you see that? So it just kind of shot out the side there. It's going to totally work. As long as these are all done inside, that's going to work. So now I have a tray here, and then I got a bowl that I'm going to put the yolks in here and the whites here. So this is what I'm just going to take, usually a small knife, like a paring knife, so that you don't do too much damage. We're going to cut them in half. I'm going to pop that yolk out and put it right there in that bowl. Pop that yolk out. Oh my gosh, you guys, this looks really good. This is exactly what they're supposed to look like. Okay, they come out really well, and they're nice and yellow. These eggs, right down the middle, long ways. Pop that in there. Oh my goodness, they're doing the job for me. Okay, so again, long way on the egg. pop that yolk out, put it right in that dish. Sometimes they want to stick a little bit and just kind of gently coax out any egg yolk that doesn't want to come out. I'm going to get these done and be back. So now I have 20 egg halves. Okay, so now this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to take a fork and I'm just going to crush these guys up, okay? Now, one of the benefits to having that Ziploc bag, I found, to pipe these yolks into the whites, is that if I don't get these crushed all the way up and there's still a lump, when I get it shoved into the Ziploc bag, I can actually just go through and like massage the bag and work all those little lumps out. Because sometimes, you know, you get going on this and there's just so many crumbly egg yolks that you miss half an egg yolk down at the bottom of the pile or whatever, you know, or something just didn't get worked out right. So it's not the end of the world if you don't get it. Now, some people might want to use a mixer or something like that in order to get them really, really, really fine. And that's fine too. Okay. Here we are. Just looks like, you know, crumbled blue cheese or, you know. So now here's the thing where it's going to get a little bit sketchy. I don't measure when I do my deviled eggs. I just look for the consistency that I like inside the dish. So I don't usually measure. I just kind of thump in some stuff, but I'm actually going off of a recipe I found on the internet, sort of, with my own little tweaks. So they were saying that it was to do 6 eggs, you would use a 1/4 cup of mayonnaise. So I have 10 eggs. So I'm going to say we're going to start with not quite a 1/2 cup. Okay, so we're going to put that mayonnaise in there. It says to put in a teaspoon of yellow mustard and a teaspoon of Dijon mustard. However, that's not how I do eggs. So I'm going to put 2 teaspoons of yellow mustard. Might be a bit heaping. And again, this is all going to be changed once I start mixing it up. If I feel like it needs a little bit more mayonnaise or a little bit more mustard, and I'm going to sample it, I'm going to find out, oh, does that, because I like mine a little bit tangy. And then it's saying that you need a little bit of vinegar. So I'm going to do 2 teaspoons of pickle juice, dill pickle juice, not sweet. I'm not a sweet fan, but if you like sweet, do sweet. Actually, let me do a little bit more. I like to have that pepper in there. A pepper, and of course salt. And I use a sea salt, Mediterranean sea salt. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix this up. Some people might like to chop up dill pickles and add them in there, or even add a little sliver of it on the tip top. I just put paprika on the top of mine. Okay, this is turning out to be pretty good. Now we're gonna, the thing is that with this, is it takes a bit to get it really incorporated because that yolk needs to break up. So I like to push against the side of the dish and just make sure that I'm really breaking up all those yolks and there's not gonna be any dry pieces. You see, like I like it to be maybe a little bit runnier than that, but we're gonna taste it here in a minute. And if it needs more mayonnaise, then that's gonna add more. If it needs more pickle juice or more mustard, then it's gonna do that too. And that's gonna add some more moisture. But you don't want it to be too runny, because if it's too runny, it won't stand up in your eggs. And you really want that to happen. Okay. Dang, that's pretty good. I'm gonna throw in a little bit more salt. Just a touch of pickle juice. That was about a 1/2 teaspoon. I'm gonna mix that up. And the very last thing, this was literally just a couple squirts of mustard. So here we go. That's perfect. It's enough that it'll come through my Ziploc bag corner, but it'll still stand up on an egg. So that's really good. Yep, that's perfect. Okay, so now I'm going to scoop this into the bag. I'm going to massage it, and then I'm going to start piping it in. I'll be back. Okay, got it all in the bag. I have a little bag stand-up thing that holds your bags and holds it open. They're the best thing since sliced bread, but it's not here because I'm not at my house. So anyway, I'm going to try to push all the air out of the bag, seal it up, and then here's what I'm talking about. I'll just take it and just kind of massage it, mush it, squish it. Okay. Grab this scraper. Let's see if I can get this down here where you can see what I'm doing. I'm just kind of laying the bag down on the ground, and just with just slight, just gentle pressure, I'm just kind of dragging it down. You can use whatever. You can use whatever you got, or just use your fingers and just sort of squish it down or whatever. So now normally what I would do is, now I would have this. I would put foil over top of this, get all those little eggs secured so they're not wiggling and jiggling all over as we go to our event. And then I would, after I get that foil on there, then I would just fold this over and I'd place it right on top and grab my jar of paprika and head out. And that would be it. And then once I got there, then I would cut the corner, pipe it in, put a little paprika on top, call it good. But because we're going just across the street today, I'm going to go ahead and make the eggs complete. Squish that just slightly out of that corner. Okay, so now I'm just going to pipe it in there. You see, so I just have it in the corner, and I'm just going to squish it. And if there are any more of those little hard yolks, you're going to catch them when they come out, because they're going to push right through there and hopefully get smushed. So, sorry, my lighting is just terrible, but that is them. You see that? So they're just nice and tall and overflowing, but they're not pretty. You can make yours as pretty as you want. Paprika. Right here. This is what you want to top them off with. This is what I like. You can top them with small diced pickle. You can top them with little slivers of pickle. You can top them with paprika, maybe some chili powder, a dab of Tabasco. This recipe that I got, that I was reading about the hard-boiled eggs, called for just a couple dashes of Tabasco in the mix itself. Like I said, I like to make them the way I make them, the way I remember them tasting when I grew up. And that was mayonnaise, yellow mustard, pickle juice, paprika, salt, pepper. And that's pretty much, that's a deviled egg to me. I don't do the sweet. I don't do fancy. So here we are. And you can put as much or as little. Now paprika, if you're not familiar with paprika, it's kind of a spice. It has a little bit of a kick to it, but really it has a very mild flavor. I enjoy it. So there you go. Deviled eggs. And they're just that tall. And that ought to do it for us. So try it however you'd like to modify this. Add some Dijon mustard in there. Add a couple splashes of Tabasco. Get a little fancy with how you're squirting that in there. Use a piping bag. Do whatever you want. However you want. Okay, so since I do have to carry them across the street, and they have to sit and chill in the fridge for a few hours before I carry them across the street, I went ahead and poked little toothpicks in there. Whoops, see, sliding all around. And then I loosely tented some tin foil over top. I'll take another one. I'm gonna go stick these in the fridge in the garage until it's time to take it across the street. And there you have it, deviled eggs. I think they're yummy.